Operation Status Quo. Operation Status Quo. Prepare to engage. Operation Status Quo. Ready to engage. Operation Status Quo. Engaged. Engaged. Hello, beautiful people of the world. I know I say that every day because you are beautiful people and we are on this world. So it kind of works out, those two comments being put together as they are here on Operation Status Quo. Hello and welcome. Today is, what is today? Today's the 12th of April in the good year 2023, and a very special show today. Of course, this is Operation Status Quo. I'm Pete Palma, and here on Operation Status Quo, we observe the status quo, and then we learn to flow with the quo. That's the only way to go, don't you know? All right? Okay, so today, I don't want to waste any time, ladies and gentlemen, because we have a very special guest here today on the show, and I'm very proud to introduce. Now, you might notice a little similarity in the name. There's no nepotism here. It does happen to be a relative of mine, but at the same time, wonderful skills and great information, and that's why we have him here today. Let's bring him up here. There we go. There he goes. Mike Palma. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Pete. How you doing?
Good. Just giving you a little round of applause. I know you can't hear that right now, but if you watch this back, you will.
Hey-o.
All right. All right, so Mike has over 25 years of experience in health and wellness, everything from the levels of personal training to what we'll be talking about today, energy healing and such. So, Mike, if you want to just give the audience maybe a quick 1-2, who you are and all that kind of thing, if you want.
Yep. I've been in the field for 25 years, like you said, doing health and wellness. I've worked with over hundreds of clients. And over the years, I've just slowly progressed into more of a holistic approach. I do have more of a medical model background in the sense that I went to Rowan University and I have a degree in health and exercise science. But over the years, I've really gotten into holistic health and a lot of modalities that aren't practiced as much in the mainstream medicine. And one of my major passions is to share that information with people and to let people know what are other options that are less invasive and different for their body and for their wellness.
Right. And, here, obviously, on this show, Operation Status Quo, we're always looking to really empower people. It's really what it's all about, as much as we talk about everything that's going on in the world. And it seems like crazy times and everybody, a lot of fear, confusion on, many different aspects of our lives. And, of course, during the time of the pandemic and such, health really came to the forefront. And, it's really the stuff that's coming out now and the information and the way people are starting to think and look at things in different ways. Because of the pandemic being the catalyst in the way it was, kind of making people question some of the aspects, as it were, of Western medicine, our mainstream medical system. Again, not that it's bad, everything has its place, but definitely started putting things in a different direction. And I know for some years now, I guess, what was it? Probably like around 2016 or something when you really started with the energy work and the pranic healing. So I would just like for you to give the audience a little, pranic healing 101, like what it is in comparison to mainstream medicine. Why would people even be, interested in learning about it?
Yeah, and before I get into that, you just touched on something that I wanted to talk about. You talked about when COVID came out and what people were going through, and people living in fear and scarcity and not sure what to do and not sure who to trust. And I also have a Personalized Wellness Solutions Facebook page that everyone's welcome to go on, where I give on free information, and all my information is not my own; it's documented research that I've taken the time to develop and to figure out. And what I'm so proud about is I actually just posted something recently about ivermectin, and it was a published reviewed study that was done in Peru, and they found that people who used ivermectin had a 70% decrease in COVID symptoms and healing abilities, or just being cured from it, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So I just think that's a fascinating topic, because if you go onto Google or any of the search engines that you in America or that we normally do, it'll say that's disinformation or that's pseudoscience or that information is not correct. But these are peer-reviewed studies that have been done in other countries, and they have shown to be. And also, it's not just them; these are Nobel Prize winners that have come up with this drug, ivermectin. And there was actually another one that I published where the gentleman from Japan and all them, they created it. They created it for um, for certain other diseases and stuff like that. And it was just fascinating to see that all those were cured once the body had like an alkaline environment and had the ability to heal itself through these natural means.
Yep, I definitely know that ivermectin's been around for a long time for multiple usages, and it was it's kind of interesting when this happened. Stuff we had that could have been helpful was just interesting. I'm not going to go down those paths of why or what, but just to say, but there are it's not as complicated as people think in certain ways. Matter of fact, to bring just to your point, I saw a video the other day with Greg Braden. I know you know who Greg Braden is, and he talked about I guess he was frustrated with how people always say the science, trust the science, but no one actually follows, the science. Like there's science that's being disregarded,
Exactly. And what I was trying to suggest before was like malaria and different stuff like that. But you're right. And I guess that's the thing, we kind of just use the word science to fit whatever we decide we want that to fit our narrative, so to speak.
Right.
So
right.
that's kind of what I noticed. It's like, if you say, oh, it's backed by science, but certain people have their own science. I mean, if you even look, for example, with cigarettes back in the day, they had their own researchers when they went to Congress testify that cigarettes don't cause cancer or carcinogens or any diseases in the body, inflammation. And we all know that to not be true, but their science backed that up. So it depends who's doing the studies, who's funding it, right? So those are the questions I think people want to ask themselves is where's this information coming from, who's funding it, and what are their motives? I think those are important topics to discuss because it's not all about, so to speak, the science.
Right. And now, of course, a lot of that stuff that we're talking about right here is on the 3D physical level more so. And, one of the things I like to talk about a lot and what I think is very helpful to empower people to realize how much control they have over their lives is the realization that we're more so energetic beings, than our physical beings. And this is where the pranic healing comes into play, because if you understand the energy flows of the body and the I don't even know what words to use per se, but just say the energy flows and how they interact in the physical, how I always say that whatever's happening in your physical is more of a manifestation energetically, outside, previous to, it's not like, your shoulder just hurts or something. It's more so of a blockage of energy or something like that. So if you can elaborate on exactly, what it is and how people can utilize it.
Well, I was always into helping people through exercise and stretching and using all those modalities, massage. And then the next thing I found was pranic healing. And pranic healing was developed by Mr. Cho Kaksui. And he spent his lifetime going all around the world, understanding esoteric teachings and combining those wisdoms into one book. And it basically goes into like a scientific procedure on how to help every single ailment or disease, such as high blood pressure, cholesterol, back pain. If you were wanted to heal a broken bone, help with eyesight. So information, I mean, can go on forever, but
Right.
there's so many different modalities that you can work. And his philosophy and every philosophy in the energetic system is that all disease starts at the energetic level. And if you can get it at the energetic level, then you can heal it at the physical level.
Right.
So the idea is to become sensitive and aware to it at the energetic level before it manifests into the physical level.
Mm-hmm.
Example of that would be if someone is like our emotions have a huge effect on our chakras. Our chakras are energy or spinning wheels of light that are connected about 3 to 4 inches above out in front of our chest and our stomach and in different parts of our body, our forehead. So we have all different parts. There's 11 major chakras. there's over 20 something, 23 minor chakras, and you can really go into so much more, but we'll just keep it simple for right now. And each one of those chakras, if they get clogged or have dirty energy, then they cause the body not to have even flow of prana or chi or any of the these energy modalities that will help you heal. So if energy can't flow properly, then you have disease in the body. So that's the main part, the main takeaway from it. And it's important to realize that emotions clog up our chakras just as much as anything else. So that's why having a really awareness of your emotions and an awareness of just your inner thoughts, because even our inner thoughts cause our chakras. So you know how we're all talking to ourselves all day?
Yep.
So we're always in a conversation with ourselves, and within that is causing our chakras to be blocked up. So a lot of times people think it's just what they say out loud. Like if I yelled at someone in an angry way, then of course, oh, that'll make my chakras. That's one form of it. But just inner dialogue that we have with ourselves and our subconscious level, of feeling not worthy, or if you get an email you don't like at work and you get angry over it, or someone makes you mad at work, and inside you don't say anything, but inside you're having these thoughts of anger towards them, then that's clogging up those chakras, and then can cause disease and the body not to function properly. And so, like for example, anger can build up in the solar plexus, which by your chest. And that's why when people have a hard day at work and they have a lot of anger in their mind or frustration, they start to get a headache.
Mm-hmm.
And then if people have a lot of worry, they might not say it out loud, but in their mind, they're worrying all day. Then they'll have lower back pain, and it'll manifest as fatigue.
And they might not even realize that they're worrying. That's the one thing too. To have the realization to be the observer of your thoughts and aware of actually the self-talk that's going on all day.
Yeah, that's the esoteric part. I mean, that's the part of like that's the whole gist of what yoga is. Yoga is union with God and union with the mind. So a lot of us do like hatha yoga, which is where we do stretches, and postures, and that's really fantastic because it helps to keep our bones and ligaments strong and our tendons, and it helps to clear our chakras.
Mm-hmm.
But also have to be aware of our inner dialogue and our inner thoughts. And I would say the majority of people aren't aware of that. And so that's why one form of meditation is, meditation is an umbrella term. And one form of meditation is just to be aware that you're having this inner dialogue with yourself every day. Then there's another form of meditation where you can bring spiritual energy down. And there's another form of meditation where you can go into samadhi or go back to oneness. So I'm just giving you a couple of examples of what, meditation can be. It's not a simple task. It's just like an umbrella term used for many things. It's like if you wanted to say, I wanted to exercise, well, you could do jump rope, you can do bicycling, you could do running, you could do weight training, you can do dancing, right? So it's an umbrella term, exercise, and there's all these things that fall underneath it.
Right. So let's break it down like in a simple terms, in a sense of like, a person who is just not aware of something like this, or, has some sort of chronic issues in regard to whatever. And, they're just used to, if I don't feel good, I go to the doctor, or, I go to the doctor for my checkup every whatever and blah, blah, blah. And, so like if you were going to talk to someone and say, how would you try to maybe encourage, not necessarily encourage as much as just get someone to even understand the thought, the idea of it, so that they can apply it in their life, and how to make it practical for, how our world is today. Most people aren't the way we are, just kind of floating around and all that type of esoteric stuff. So, how do we break it down and make it practical for the average Joe and Jane?
Well, one of the things you can do is you can notice where there's pain in the body. So if you notice you have tight shoulders or tight neck and stuff, tight neck, then you know that you have a lot of anger and frustration, like I said earlier. So your body is a good temple for that. So where pain in the body will kind of let you know what emotions you are feeling. Like I said before earlier, if you have worry, anxiety, fear, that'll manifest in the lower part. So people always have lower back pain. They'll know that, oh, I'm worrying too much, Right. So that's one way that they can do it. They can also do it just by meditating and observing their thoughts. And then the third thing is, in any energy form or any energy work, the whole point about it is to have purification of the body. So it's a constant process that you do every day. So for example, you brush your teeth every day, you take a shower every day, then you'd want to clear your energy every day.
Right.
So maybe you're not as in tune as to what your energy is or any of that nature, but by simply doing yoga, doing exercise, taking a salt bath. In pranic healing, it's called Twin Hearts meditation, where you bring spiritual energy down, and that's free on YouTube. That anyone can look up. That Master Cho, who was a disciple of Mr. Chokhak Sui, has it on there, and you can follow that. So there's all these different ways to purify the body. Juicing vegetables, like eating raw vegetables, for example, like 80% of your diet will help to clear your chakras. So what I'm trying to suggest is that this is a lifestyle. It's not something you're just going to take a pill or do once. It's either
Right.
you're going to follow this and want to do it, or you're not. So the reality is what I'm doing and working with is not for the average person, and it's probably not going to resonate with most people, and that's okay. You just do what works for you. But if it does resonate for you and you feel like it does, then that's somebody. Then I'd be somebody you would want to work with. So I'm definitely not for everybody or everybody's cup of tea. Some
Right.
people
Right.
are ready for that, and that's okay too. That there's no wrong or right. Sometimes it takes more lifetimes to figure it all out.
Yep. And just to say, like, I've had experiences where you've done some of the. I mean, maybe we can elaborate on, like, if you did an energy healing or something on someone, like, what that entails, or what you feel. And because I know for myself, there's times when, you've done stuff, I could feel, I could feel the heat, just, you're not even touching me or anything, but I could feel the heat go up my legs or whatever area you have your hands over and what you're doing. I mean, another good example, obviously, is, a couple months ago when, my cat was under the weather, and you actually did, an energetic clearing. We're in different states, and I could tell that you did it. I saw his behavior change, at the time that you did it. And I know, like, for some people it's hard to even, because it's just hard to grasp some of those. I don't think people want to believe that it's even possible. I'm not sure if they don't want to believe it, or it's too much responsibility on them to actually have to do something if they know, but I mean, I've seen it myself. So
Yeah, and what chi is, or prana, this is all life force energy. So anyone who's seen, I guess, like Star Wars is a great way of trying to make it simple, where they use the force, so to speak.
mhm.
That's all that comes from old Vedic knowledge and all history. So they're pulling from like reality of what was going on back in prehistoric times in the Sumerians, and way back in our times, that if you do believe in that, that they were following. If you look at the Tao Te Ching, and all these ancient scripts, Egypt, they all were using chi or prana to heal themselves. And people in Egypt were living over, 3, 4, 500 years, because they were true masters of chi and how to harness it in their everyday life. So when, like you said, when I do energy work, I remove dirty energy, and then I put chi, or life force, back into the body. And what that does is it allows the body to rapidly heal for 12 hours. So every time you put chi in the body, it allows it to heal for 12 hours, and then it runs out, so to speak, and you need to recharge it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
and so it basically is a way of letting the body regenerate itself.
Right. And what's interesting about what you do is just that the fact that you're able to, be with a person, or maybe not even be with them physically in the same location, and be able to assess, where their blockages are, and, and what areas they need to focus.
Yeah, one of the things, like monks, or people who have done this type of healing before, and it's been around for ages. I'm not anything new to this. This has been around since the beginning of time, and that's the sad part. This is hidden knowledge. Esoteric, it means hidden knowledge, and this has been hidden from us. And that's the point I was kind of making earlier when I even talked about the medicines. All the things that are our birthright to be healthy and well seem to be hidden because of motives of control, money, and power. Because if we did have this knowledge, then how much different would our culture be? For example, if you were a child and you learned how to bring chi or prana down every day, then you wouldn't need 99% of the medications, or have any of the ailments that most people have.
Yep. And all those trips to the pediatrician when you're a kid, and the vaccines and the shots and all that stuff.
Correct. But the issue is it's free. Like, it's our birthright.
Right.
When you down, you don't, it doesn't charge anything. I charge because I do it and it's a profession. But if you learned how to do it yourself and harness it, then you wouldn't have to pay for it. It would be free, right?
Right.
So everyone is able to learn this on their own
But
and
that's
get this.
part of what you do too, is to teach people how to.
Correct. That's what I do. So I'm your guru in a sense. That's what gurus were. That's what teachers were back in India or any people of those natures. You look at Jesus, you look at Buddha, you look at any of the great prophets. They're all teaching with what I'm teaching, and it's just that, they all told you to go within, and that they said anything I can do, you can do just as well, right? That's what they all said.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
demonstrated miracles, that so-called miracles, but they were just able to tap into prana and chi and hermetic knowledge and learn how to open up their chakras and to heal themselves and do things that we could all do. So one of the things I've learned through pranic healing is how to regenerate my body. So I feel like 20 years younger than my actual age. And that's just because I've learned how to bring this energy down, and I practice it every day. I meditate an hour every day. And so,
And for
someone would
people
have
who don't know, Mike is 75 years old.
120.
He's
So
120.
that's my test. I'm curious to see how long I can make myself last to a healthy old age, with this, because I like to make myself a living testament of what's possible.
Yeah.
So
And as
my
long as you
goal,
can keep that hair from going gray, right?
hey,
I'm just
that's my
saying, not for nothing. I mean, I got no hair left. I mean, you're not too many years behind me. And I'm not, and know what the crazy thing is? I'm going to say this as an example because you were getting grays some years ago. I remember when the grays were coming in, like they were not a ton, but there was a pretty good amount, and then you were able to, from what you've done, you've actually stopped. I mean, there's no hair dye, ladies and gentlemen, no hair dye.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's fascinating. We're all learning as we go. I mean, this is something I've only been introduced to, let's say, like for about 5 or 6, 7 years now. I've always known about this knowledge, but I've never practiced it. And, I'm only started to cultivate it in a very short time myself. So it's, very feasible that anyone can do it, and
Yep.
can do it in a short period of time. And chi, like you said, can be done through distant healing. Like you said, I worked on your cab and from different states, and it doesn't matter where you are because what it is, it's non-local, which means that everything is instantaneous and it's beyond space and time. So a
Right.
lot of esoteric information goes against the science we learned in school, such as like Newtonian or Einstein and some of the physics that we learned. So, some people would say, well, I'm crazy, and some people, would disagree with that. So it's everybody's right. I'm just suggesting that it is possible, because if you ask the physicists, they would say that's not possible.
Now you mentioned earlier what we were talking. We were mentioning about juicing and stuff like that, and salt baths, say, and even stuff like sitting in the sauna, or maybe even the coffee enemas. That it's a whole nother topic on its own. But are those type of practices considered part of pranic healing? Or I mean, they're more physical. So I'm just curious if it's if pranic healing itself is really just all more energy, or do those things, or is that part of it?
Yeah, it's like I would say it's like if anyone has seen a bicycle and it has all the spokes on there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say that, if you look at a bicycle and the spokes on a wheel, there's not just one or two, there's maybe 100, 200 spokes all going into one direction, back in the old school bikes with the metal.
Right.
And that's what like pranic healing, that's what all esoteric or pranic healing or energy, it's all these different techniques that if they add up together make one whole.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
it's not that there's just one thing to do, but the more things you can do cumulatively will add up to a greater whole.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean,
So
everybody's always looking for what do I got to do? That's why everybody wants to just take the pill, right, and go about their day. Right.
done. So back to your question, then yes, I mean it is physical. It's because even like in Egypt, for example, they had colonics, and they would make sure that their pharaohs, they had a doctor specifically that would help would help the doctors just to do colonics, just to make sure their intestinal tract was going right. Like that was one of the things back then, because they understood the importance of intestinal health and mental health. So,
Right.
anything with this kind of information is mind, body, spirit, right? So it's working on the mind, which is what we talked about, like, your emotions, what you think, the body, which is like, purification through colonics and or enemas or, water and through juicing, exercise, sweating, right? Defecation, urination, all those type of pathways. And then it's the spirit. The spirit is realizing that, like, that you come from one source, the I am, so to speak, and that that's why all that, the chi and all this, everything can come from that, and that even has to do with the physics of, since there's only one of us here each in a multifaceted way, that that's why we all can interconnect in a sense. There's no past, present, or future, because there's only really one of us that thinks that we're here, and it's going out into many different forms. So it's like an example would be, the way they explain it in esoteric terms is like you have the sun, and then you would have all the rays that come out from the sun.
Right.
Right. And that's what, we understand that we're the sun and we're the rays.
And I guess truthfully too, I mean, because I talk a lot about, detox, just the way I was taught, you're always thinking about what you're putting in your body, what you're putting in, what you got to, blah, blah, blah. And, and the truth is how important it is of what you're getting out of your body, maybe even more so than what you're putting in. But like,
Correct.
from what you're saying, and with that concept added to it, the cleaner you make your body doing some of these physical things such as juicing or colonics or salt bath, whatever, you're then creating a cleaner vessel for your energy and spirit to flow more readily and have more abundance with those aspects.
Correct. Yep. That's exactly right. But the problem is like, once again, it's a lifestyle. It takes time, and everything in our life is pulling us to do the opposite, because everything is wants us to be fearful, work 100 hours, run around like a chicken without a head, so to speak.
Yeah, no, yep. Everything's inverted, everything's inverted to keep you away from your truths.
Yep, and keep you in fear. So, fear also will stop the healing process. So, there was a great study down where a person had cancer, and just by, the lady in the book who documented this, she wrote a book after she cured her cancer. She just watched funny videos for like months at a time after she had cancer, and she cured herself just because she put herself in an environment of being, of laughter and not being of fear. So
that's good. Now that I know that, if I ever get really sick, I'm just going to binge watch the Three Stooges, until I'm well again.
Try it out. It can work.
Yeah, it would work. So, all right. Well, I wanted to just, I plan for us to have, future conversations and such, there's a multitude of topics that we can discuss, and again, with the information, especially on your Facebook, there's like, I mean, if you want to quickly talk about the different, all the different things you're covering on there you're covering, not just pranic healing, but you're covering, other ancient wisdoms as well as symbolism and in our culture and, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I actually did document like into how civilization started, and I actually questioned what we learned in school, like such as Darwinism.
Right.
I believe that there's other entities, or there's people call them aliens, whatever you want to call them, but I would say they're just us. And that we're all part of a deeper society and a deeper understanding that we can even comprehend. And to say that sounds foolish to most people, or sounds crazy, but it allows us to understand why we can tap into chi and these powers, because they were around since the beginning of time, and they were taught by our ancestors of who have origins other than just this planet, because really we're multi-dimensional beings.
Right.
And important to understand that, and so that's one thing I give little tidbits in my Personalized Wellness Solutions Facebook account, and I have so many articles, thousands and thousands that people can go through, and it just gives you a tidbit here, a tidbit there, so that you can slowly absorb this information. But it's not just me who's saying this. If you look at Graham Hancock and
yep.
and there's so many others. They all wrote about ancient civilizations and how the timelines that we have are not correct, and about the evidence of what was really here, and about I hate to say the word aliens. I would just like to say our ancestors more.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that I can get into. I just don't have the time, and where would I start? But it's
Right.
just introduce that concept right now is what I'm just trying to say, and that's where all this has come from. That's where prana, that's where chi, that's where it all originates from, because it's part of our ancestry of who we are.
Yep. And
But
that's why I say here all the time, on this show, I just always talk about, I joke around about like, hey, the world is crumbling. But I always say it in a positive way because, really what's happening, I don't look at it as the world's crumbling. It's just like, it's almost like breaking open and revealing what's been hidden to us, for so long. And, however, whatever whatever their views are as far as, the pandemic itself and all the politics surrounding it and such, that none of that matters. Like, humanity is one consciousness, and whatever agreement was made, and this is the time for us to move. It's like, hey, you graduate high school and then you go to college, right? So it's the same thing. Humanity, we just graduated like kind of one level, and we're moving up to another level. Not everybody is happy about it, but I just think the stuff you're talking about, when we're talking about, and what you see going on in the world, I think people should feel encouraged and empowered that, it's nothing. It's a blessing of what we're being taught and shown at this time, as opposed to, all the fear-based living we've done for the past how many generations.
yeah, and I would also maybe just add to that. I know Dolores Cannon and some others talk about how we're entering from a 3D world to a 5D world, and the reality is that some people will enter into that and some people won't. So some and it's all happening at the same time. So you just won't notice, because we're going from 3D to 5D is a consciousness thing. It's not a physical thing. It's not like you leave Earth, for example, but
Right.
your changes. And for example, people who are into what I'm talking about are naturally moving into the 5D, because they'll understand all this and it'll resonate with them. And people who aren't moving into the 3D and are going to stay, who are moving into the 5D and are going to stay into the 3D, won't resonate with this information. And if anything, it'll probably like repulse them, or they will kind of get angry over this information. I've noticed people get angry if it doesn't resonate with them. Even if you're just bringing up information, they get angry about it.
I do. Yeah. And that's not just true with this type of information. It's true with, you see it with everything, even, people, if you want to go down the road of, they call everybody a conspiracy theorist, and stuff like that. It's like make it such a negative thing of like, not for anything. We should all be open to multiple ways of thoughts, and not that, even if, there's things that don't resonate with me necessarily, but it doesn't mean, I got to shut it down and say, it's totally, it's nothing is wrong or right or good or bad. Everything are merely just pieces of information for each soul's at a different level of development and growth. And, here on the Earth School, everybody, whatever it is for that individual, that's why there's so many facets, and, nothing's not going to be cookie cutter for everybody is what I mean.
No, and then the number one thing I would say you do need to be, if you want to, get into this information, is you need to be open-minded, and doesn't mean open-mindedness doesn't mean you blindly accept anything. It just means that, you're open to all possibilities. You take time to review them and process them, and then you make an informed decision on what's best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this has been a great intro to pranic healing, and just the realization that you have the power to, you are connected. You're a spiritual being. You're beyond your body. You have, you're connected to abundant energy beyond what you realize, and you have the ability. We're built to do it. Our pineal gland, right? And everything. It's in us. It's designed, and
Right.
it's just one of those things that's never been taught. And for anyone who, is resonating with this and maybe doesn't even know like how do I even do, or what's it even mean? You could take you could start as simple as just taking, start 30 seconds a minute a day to sit in silence and meditation, and let it go to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and as you create that space, things kind of come to you a little bit more.
Yeah, and one of the things I offer as part of my service is coaching. So if some of this resonates and someone wants a coach to guide them through everything, and a great thing about a coach is, you don't have to go around and make all the U-turns and go right instead of left and waste all your time to make. You went past an exit, you got to come back to the exit. You don't have to waste all your time. Someone can just take you directly there.
Right.
And also with a coach, when you're around a guru or someone who has that spiritual energy, they are literally passing that on to you. So that's a gift that you get. So when you work with somebody like me, you're accelerating and speeding up your spiritual process of healing and understanding just by working with someone who resonates with that energy. So that's the gift that you get from that.
Understood. It's a beautiful gift. I
Mhm.
just imagine, like, what a world it would be if everybody was like, taught that type of stuff and empowered that way. Really would be, instead of always running from things, we can be building so much more together. It's just so many pieces. It's just, it's too much to think about to put it into the words almost that I even want to say sometimes, when it comes to
Yeah,
that stuff.
myself is there's so much to teach, and you start to fumble to the words because it would take hours upon hours and years upon years and lifetimes upon lifetimes. So we're just trying, like you said, keep it short and concise. But if somebody wants to work with me, I can do energy work for them, so they can feel it, understand it, and then they would know what to look for and start working it on themselves. And they could also understand what nutrition to do, what exercises to do, what philosophies to start thinking about, and meditation, and start putting it together. It's just one piece of the puzzle, and it just takes time. If you want to be great pianist, you're not going to do it in a day, you're not going to do it in a month, and probably not going to do it in a year. So it's just going
Right,
to take.
right. And just to speak to that too, I mean, just my journey itself with, just eating differently and all that type of stuff. I remember 2003 when it started with the, with the Dr. Robert Young and, the pH miracle information, and then, started juicing and drinking the alkaline reverse osmosis water. Those were all just that was just the beginning, right? Then it came into more things. And until like, now it's 20 years later, and it's like, I have this whole lifestyle that has been really good to me. It's just, so people shouldn't feel shouldn't feel overwhelmed or discouraged to, everything takes step by step. It's like, like you play baseball, right? You start in little league and then you get up to the maybe you make the minors when you get older. And if you maybe you make the majors, it just takes the time and what you put into it, like everything else.
Yeah, and it's good to start as soon as possible, because once you have a major disease, unfortunately, it's too late by then.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Once you have cancer or you have autoimmune disease or MS or any of these chronic illnesses, and then you want a quick fix. There is no quick fix. That's just the reality of it. And so,
But
the
you would
quicker.
say somebody could be reversed, right? If say somebody has MS or something like that. I mean, it would take more work, but it could be reversed.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, if you look at Gerson therapy, for example,
Yep.
people who have cancer, they just juice carrots all day. They do from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. Every hour, they have a glass of carrot juice
Yeah.
and reverse it. And so, but you would have to be willing to juice every day for an hour. And so that's not easy. You say you want to do it, but then when it comes to reality of doing it and building the habit, are you ready to do
It's
it?
like, oh,
That's
I'll just do the chemo. That's easy. Can we just do the chemo? I don't want to make a juice.
every day, every hour, and then take a couple supplements and that nature. I mean, people, when it really comes down to it, are you going to do it? That's and then you have fear, and then you go, well, I don't know. They're telling me in the hospital to do this, and then you start, you're in between, and you don't know what to do. And so, if you haven't built a solid foundation, I find with clients that the fear usually overrides them, and then they just do whatever the doctors say because that's just what they're used to and will feel comfortable with.
Do you remember when Steve Jobs, had the pancreatic cancer and died, right? So, and they said, when he passed, they said that he wished he tried to do holistic methods, and then they put. I remember them saying that, oh, he regretted doing that and he should have done that. He would have lived or whatever if he would have done the other, the mainstream medical. And I just find it interesting that they'll take a name as big as that, and he was trying to do what he was trying to do, and they flip it and make it like.
Well,
I don't know what he did or, if it was, he did what he needed to do or didn't do, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, actually, I know about that case, and he actually met with a holistic doctor who was going to have him do coffee enemas and take certain supplements and all that. And the doctor actually turned him down because he wasn't willing to do it.
Oh,
So,
okay. All right. I didn't realize that. So yeah, okay. Yeah. I just
I
always remember hearing after he passed, like, oh, he regretted that he didn't do whatever, or something,
was he like had taken psychedelics, and he was very much into like certain philosophies, but at the same time he also had a part of him that was maybe not as attuned in certain ways, and was into the business and had other modalities, and just he wasn't willing to put the full effort that it took to do it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what it all takes. I mean, first of all, you have to believe it, number one, because if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? Because you're only fighting yourself if you don't believe it. So you got
well,
to have faith in it in a sense, right?
one thing that I really want to impart before we go, and I don't want to take too much time, but Edgar Casey says the mind is the builder, and I've worked with lots of people, and the one thing I finally come to understand is purification is very, very important. But if you don't ever get over like childhood traumas and certain issues in your life and fix your mind, you'll never get well.
Right, right. And that's what it all says. I mean, the truth is, everything is the mind anyway, in a way, right? I mean, your physical is just a manifestation of whatever energies. To me, I always say the physical is the last thing. Like everything's already happened energetically, and whatever, comes out on the physical end is really the aftermath.
Yep. And so, if you don't work on those mind issues, for example, I worked with someone who had a stroke, and the strokes come from anger and frustration. And sometimes people aren't aware that they got angry and frustrated. So I did energy on this individual for years, and they got a lot better and it had a lot of great results, but they never resolved that things they learned from their parents and the way they were raised. And they just kept, like generationally bringing those same kind of attitudes, and unfortunately that is what enable the person not to get 100% well. So I found that to be very fascinating.
Right, right, right. Yeah, because if you're tuning in, if you don't realize it, you're aligning with a certain frequency, vibration, whatever you want to say, and that's going to have a certain result.
Yeah, because in pranic healing, once again, like if a lot of these like strokes and cancer, and a lot of these are directly or pollute. Like cancer, for example, can be a pollutant. Like from 9/11, if you went in and you breathed in all the stuff in 9/11, when you were like say a paramedic or whatever, then that's a chemical thing. Obviously, you went in, you breathed all those toxins in, and that caused a problem. So that's definitely there. But cancer also can just be related to too much anger and frustration, too much red in the body.
Yes.
And Chinese medicine and all that. So it's really important that if you can't monitor your emotions, and you just can't be well. And that's why like everything I'm talking about is really challenging, because if you're not, it's subtle. Everything's subtle, and if you're not aware of it, then you can't be well. I mean, that's why you have to be totally responsible for everything in your life. But it's such a big hard concept that it's really tough to teach people.
Yeah, I know. That's why now whenever like my back starts hurting or something, my lower back, I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. What am I upset about today? What am I thinking about? you know?
Exactly. But when you live a fast-paced life and you have 3 children or 2 children and you have a full-time job and you're running around and you barely have an hour to yourself every day, then in reality, how can you deal with anything?
Yep. No, that's the truth. Well, Mike, listen, I want to thank you so much for your time today and this introduction to pranic healing. And I know you have so much great information to offer. So I hope we can do more of these episodes in the future to keep encouraging people to, really focus and, be the best, be the best them they can be, through some of these practices, and how liberating they are really, and how much vibrancy they can provide into your life. And, just, wow. I mean, it is like emotional freedom, physical freedom. It's, these are things that you can't put a price tag on.
Yeah, and spiritual freedom. Yep, and that's the thing. We all are God. Like God is not. It's not like you go to church, for example, in Catholic Church, and you have to pray to God, or you have to pray to like you are God, you are Jesus, and you can heal yourself, and you don't have to go to anybody. It's all within you.
Yep. So Personalized Wellness Solutions, you could check out the website. All the contact information for Mike is listed in the description box below here on this video. So you could check out his website. You could check out his Facebook. And if there's an email address, you can contact him directly. If this is something that you're interested in, I can attest that I've seen it myself, and that the stuff works. And I've been doing a lot of these things for years myself. And I always tease because Mike and I, we are brothers, but we're a little bit different in certain ways. And I probably would be on my 6th or 7th angioplasty by now if I didn't have him to help me out a little bit from time to time. If we could just get rid of that damn bourbon, I'd be in good shape.
Well, you always have to have opposites, yin and yang. Right?
Yeah. Hey, well, that's why I do so much detox. It's like I got to keep this liver going because there's a bottle of Jack Daniels calling my name. I'm teasing a little bit, but So, anything else you want to say? Add, do, give, provide, insert for the wonderful people of the world. Any final departing messages or anything else you want to say about what you do or anything before we go?
No. I just want to encourage everyone to do their own research and realize that there's so much out there that is out there for you to do and to heal yourself. If any of this resonates, I'd love to work with you. But I only work with people now that are willing and able to take personal responsibility for their wellness and to never blame anybody else.
Yep.
I don't. One who wants to pass the buck or say it's somebody else's fault. That I don't. That's where I put my foot down, and I just let it be known that I'm here as a guide, but it's not my responsibility, and it's only your responsibility. But I'm glad to guide anyone to help them to do that.
Excellent. I know you're working on some other projects too, so I don't know if you want to speak about it or not at this time. But your project that you're working on that's coming out that we were talking about earlier. But I don't know if you want to mention or not, but you don't have to if you're not ready to. But you.
Interesting. I'm writing a book about all the information we just talked about, and within the book is going to have all the natural remedies and therapies, and it's going to kind of be titled "Awakening the Power Within," and realizing that we are psychic beings and we have psychic powers, and it'll go into the research of all these Nobel Prize winners and Edgar Casey and people who have documented and proven that holistic treatments work, and homeopathy and pranic healing and Reiki and there's so much more, exercise, the power of our emotions. So like everything that I'm trying to talk about now in a short period of time will be in a 13-chapter book, so it'll have time for everyone to digest it at their own pace and slowly and understand each part that I'm trying to talk about.
Absolutely. So. That's great. Well, that's fantastic. I'm going to give a round of applause here for Mike being here with us today. And don't be shy. Reach out to him and let him help you. Let him help you help yourself. All right, Mike, well, I'm going to let you go. And it was a wonderful conversation. Thanks for taking the time to be here on Operation Status Quo today. Myself, as well as the trillions of people watching this video, are very happy to have you here for this information. So thanks, and we'll be talking again soon.
Yep, and we'll talk about more topics, and I look forward to it.
Sounds great. All right, have a good one.
Got it. Bye-bye now.
All right. There he goes. One more round of applause here, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice when you don't have to hear me talk so much? And you have somebody with some sense and reasonability speak to you, the audience. I love you people out there. All right, thank you so much for being here today on Operation Status Quo. Operation Status Quo, of course, where we observe the status quo and we learn to flow with the quo. And as I like to say, sometimes you have to flow around the quo because you don't always want to go with the quo because sometimes that quo doesn't have such a good flow. You know what I'm talking about, right? All right, listen, I love each and every one of you out there individually as well as a group. Please like, subscribe to this channel, share it out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course, those you despise as well. We know they need the most help of all. God bless all of you out there. I'll be back with you again, most likely tomorrow. So have a great day. Operation Status Quo disengaged.
It's a boulevard of 10 short blocks.